everyone, Anime Slayer here, and today we're going to do a video mostly talking about Wolverine. And with the recent release of Deadpool and Wolverine, I kind of found it fitting to discuss the many appearances of Wolverine and his costumes and appearances, and I kind of rank them accordingly. And before I get started with that, I just want to say thank you for your outstanding support as we are nearing over 1,000 subscribers, which is a big milestone for me because YouTube has always been something I'm really interested in doing. Even if it's a side gig or if it's just a side thing I can do, I've always been interested in it. So if you haven't subscribed, just make sure you do and like the videos that you see, because we're trying to get this channel to over 1,000 subscribers. And with that being said, let's get into the video. And the way it's going to go is I'm going to go from the ones I like the least to the ones I like the most. So basically, I'm going to start off with number, I guess you could say the bottom of the list would be kind of a bit controversial take, is the original Wolverine suit, which is from the Incredible Hulk 180. And while this suit is actually pretty important in the history of Wolverine, as it's his first time him donning the blue and yellow costume, I feel the mask is honestly a huge gripe of mine, because it doesn't have that connecting feature of the later mask for Wolverine. And also you get to see Wolverine's eyes instead of the white lenses, which for me just kind of makes it look kind of, I don't know, it just looks kind of off for me. It doesn't have that same intimidating factor, that same type of nuance to it. It just looks very half drawn, if I could say that. It looks half baked to me. And there's not anything wrong with, it being their first suit, so obviously it's not going to be perfect, but I do think that is something I have a gripe with, because it's not complete. I feel it's a little incomplete, and it's missing that iconic mask, the iconic white lenses that make the yellow and blue suit later on that we'll talk about, that separates it from that. And while the suit may not be my favorite, I still appreciate its historical significance, as it was the first encounter between the Incredible Hulk and Wolverine, and possibly we may be seeing that encounter in a cinematic stage, so it is something that is significant regardless of my feelings towards it. And in second place, I'm sticking with my kind of hot takes, and that's being the suit from X-Men to X2 and X-Men Last Stand. Now, my biggest thing with this suit is the lack of a mask and the overall dominance of black, because for me, it's a suit that they didn't want to be too comic accurate or too bright. They wanted to be a little bit darker. They wanted to be a little bit more unison, because each X-Men member has notably different costumes, but in the X-Men, X2 and X-Men Last Stand, they wanted this type of, I guess, unity, this type of formality between the X-Men. So you have Cyclops, you have Storm, you have all of them basically wearing the same costumes, and I do appreciate that idea. But when you do that, it kind of diminishes the uniqueness of the characters if they're all wearing the same costume, which I think works more in the X-Men First Class and in the prequel films, because they just have that more setting up rather than already established characters. But for Wolverine, I do appreciate how it does have the X-Men belt buckle. It does have X-Men hits throughout, and it does have yellow hits to counter that black. But overall, it's just something I don't really enjoy. I do appreciate it because we do see it in Hugh Jackman's first portrayal as Wolverine, so I do respect it for that. But over that, it just feels very underwhelming, and it feels very mute. I do think that Hugh Jackman does make it better, but overall, I do have to say it's something I don't like. It's one of the few flaws I have with the movie, because overall, X1 and X2 are very good movies, but overall, that's something I wish changed a little bit more, And with that being said, we move on to some costumes / appearances that I actually enjoy, and that being the first being Weapon X. Well, I actually do prefer Weapon X in the comics, especially that the comic cover of Marvel Comics Presents Volume 179 Weapon X. The representation in X-Men Apocalypse is also pretty good. The only thing that's missing, in my opinion, is the visor on the helmet that Wolverine dons. And the reason I enjoy this appearance so much is because it shows how, in my opinion, Wolverine's transition from an animal into basically a killing machine. This is how he gets the adamantium. This is how he basically loses his memory. So effectively, it's something that shows a transition period for the character, because he's becoming a weapon. He's becoming much more than an animal as he previously was. And the helmet and the visor combo makes it feel especially robotic and especially alien compared to Logan's original appearances. So it's something I really enjoy. And like I said, in X-Men Apocalypse, that was one of the highlights of the movie, was the Wolverine scene, was the Weapon X scene. So I do appreciate it for that as well. And that leads me to the exact opposite, which would be Old Man Logan, both in the comics and the film Logan, as both mediums show an age Wolverine in a world past mutants. As we see in Old Man Logan, we see very few mutants left, very few superheroes are left. Most of them have been killed off, especially the X-Men. And I do prefer the comics, as Logan's beard and hair are very blatantly white, while in the movie Logan it's more of a faded brown/black. And the jacket and claws combo is something I enjoy. It is pretty simplistic, but it is something I overall feel works for showing an aging and kind of past prime Wolverine, as we see him more in a very sick and kind of fragile nature than that invincible Wolverine we've been used to seeing for so many years. And that overall lets me to be pretty favorable to Old Man Logan/Logan, because it's something that I think is a good but simple representation of a character. And next we have Patch, or Moso Wolverine, Dripped Out. This appearance came out in Marvel Comics Presents number 9 and 10. Well, while it's incredibly simplistic, the suit is very sleek, and having Wolverine rock an eye patch is something I actually didn't think would work. Considering Wolverine has his healing factor, you would think that why would he need to wear any, thing showing that he's been damaged? But I think him rocking an eye patch is actually very cool. And many people have likely seen this comic on the cover of Wolverine and Joe Fixit, which is a version of the Hulk, and it will be the Gray Hulk. So it's something I actually pretty enjoy, and I was actually pretty pleasantly surprised that I was in Deadpool Wolverine, because it shows that kind of contradicting nature of Wolverine being very aggressive and very, animalistic, but wearing very formal clothing is a good comparison and good overall, back and forth between the two mediums. And next we have his Wolverine's X-Force suit, which was first debuted in X-Force Volume 3, number 1. And what I like about this suit is very heavy usage of black, but it is counterplayed with that use of silver, and ends with red eye lenses replacing the original white ones. Now that is one of the best moves in my opinion, because it just makes Wolverine look even more aggressive, looks even more, intimidating, while also adding a little bit of stealth to it because of the predominantly black and silver hits. And really, I would love to see this on the big screen one day. I think it would be really cool to see, especially in the scene of if Wolverine, infiltrating somewhere or going into like a berserker mode. That would be really cool to see, because it just overall feels much more aggressive than the yellow and blue suit. And that's why I have it pretty high in the suits that I like, because it really just is a different representation of Wolverine, but one that I welcome a lot. And moving next, we actually have Hugh Jackman's suit from Deadpool and Wolverine that actually came out just a few weeks ago. And there is a lot of recency bias here, but I do enjoy his suit quite a lot, as the yellow is cool, but not abruptly yellow. It does start very yellow in the beginning of the movie, but throughout it does become much more muted through battle, through blood, and I do enjoy that more so. And the interesting part about this, I do like the suit more without the sleeves than with the sleeves, because I think Hugh Jackman is obviously very built, so have him showing off the guns is better for his case, And the mask making its appearance is very, very, very cool, as we've been waiting years for this. So to see Hugh Jackman don it was a really special moment. And overall, it is recency bias, but it is a suit I do very enjoy. And next we move into the first appearance of the true yellow and blue costume for Wolverine. And it made its appearance in the Giant Size X-Men number 1, as the suit featured the connection of the black mask that I talked about earlier with the original yellow and blue suit. And this one really does it better, because it just overall, the mask makes such a big difference. Like, I can't overstate how much it makes a difference for a Wolverine costume is the mask. And they really did justice in Giant Size X-Men 1, as they show it's connected. They added the white lenses to make it a little more sleek, and overall just is my second favorite. I think it's close. It's always interchangeable. Sometimes I do like the yellow and blue. Sometimes I do like my number 1 a little bit more. But as of right now, I will have it at number 2. But as not knocking the suit at all, is an iconic superhero suit, not just X-Men suit, but in the span of Marvel and overall superhero comics, it is incredibly iconic for good reasons. And to see Hugh Jackman wear a rendition of that was a very special moment for X-Men and overall comic book fans. And next we get into number one. Might be a little bit of a hot take, but I have the brown and yellow suit. And interestingly, I remember as a kid me not liking this suit very much because I thought brown was an incredibly hard suit to rock and a very hard suit to pull off, especially in comic books. Like, we have some villains like Sabretooth, who has brown, and Juggernaut, sometimes his costume is a little bit brown, a little more red here and there. But I always thought Wolverine and brown suits didn't really mix. But as I got older, as I've read more comics, it's something that I've become very grown onto, because that yellow and brown combo just works really well for me. It just gets me, it just flows really, really nice. And to see a semblance of it in the Deadpool Wolverine movie was really cool, because it made the reference to the iconic Hulk and Wolverine comic book cover where he takes out his claws and you can see the reflection of the Hulk in them, which is incredibly iconic. So that really helped me. After seeing it on the big screen, I knew it was my favorite costume of Wolverine, because it just flows so well, looks really nice, and overall that has to be my number one on this list of favorite or ranking all of Deadpool and Wolverine's costumes. So I just want to say thank you for watching the video, and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll always poll to see what type of content you guys want to see, because I'm always open to doing anything. I do find this type of content interesting, so as long as I find it interesting and you find it interesting, it's a win-win. So yeah, just let me know, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't, and I can't wait to see you next one. Peace out.